Right, we should be live on YouTube, Mark Lambert. But are we? You're going to have to do the checking.
Can't see it.
Well, that's no good.
Might be live in a minute.
We might be. There might be a little delay. Give you a chance to have another.
Oh, yeah. Looks like we are.
Are we on? My Chicago mug here. All our Chicago fans.
Yeah.
Straight out of Chicago. We're on. Good.
We're on.
Hello, it's 9:30 on Thursday, the 19th of December. No, it's December. It's been a long day. September. And we are here without Gavin. Gavin couldn't make it, but Mark and I thought we'd jump on for a quick chat. Didn't we, Mark?
Well, there's so much going on, isn't there? We need to deal with. There's so much stuff going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on, but we'll just touch the tip of the iceberg tonight, I think, with just a few things, and then delve into those deeper when we meet again with Gavin. But hello to all of you watching, any new faces. I'm Katherine Bennett. If you're new to the channel, we have this channel, Catholic Unscripted, on our website, catholicunscripted.com, which you can go and visit and check out our membership and how you can support what we do. And we were going to talk today. We're going to begin, Mark, by talking about somebody who has billed themselves over the years as Catholic theologian and has given talks. She's a professor at, I don't know if she still is.
No, she's retired now.
She's retired. She's a retired professor at Roehampton. Her name is Tina Beattie, and she has written to the Polish bishops. That was back in 2016, I think, asking them to reconsider or not to support a ban on abortion. She has said that we should support same-sex marriage. She is about to do a talk on gender. She has said that the CTS, the Catholic Truth Society, in their publications produced perverted materials when they wrote following the church's line on contraception. So this woman, and she wrote, listen to this, in 2016 in a letter to the Polish bishops. And Mark, I know you've written about Tina Beattie on your blog a number of times, so you'll be able to come in with a lot more detail. But she's written, we're mindful that when God chose Mary to become the mother of his son, he did so not by force or compulsion, but by invitation and request. Mary was free in deciding whether or not to conceive a child. Many women do not enjoy such freedom. Which was really a strange line to take, to kind of use Mary as justification for legalizing abortion, rather than addressing the problem of rape itself and highlighting the dignity of women. So this woman, in other words, has got form, and she's due to be speaking again as Catholic theologian about gender issues coming up in just a few weeks, isn't she, Mark? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so she's been booked by some nuns. So you kind of caught me out of. Have you got the message? Are they?
There's some nuns.
They're the Order of the Holy Sepulchre, aren't they?
Yeah, we're going live. So forgive us. We're just coming in live tonight. Thought we'd give you.
It's kind of a chat, isn't it? It's just a
stream
of consciousness.
Stream of consciousness, a chat, a truly unscripted, as it always is. I shouldn't say truly because it always is. And also a chance for you to come in on the comments if you want to join in the conversation, make a contribution, ask a question. Then we'll be live for around about half an hour, and you can do that, and we'll pick your question up as we record. So I'm just looking through here. So we've got this woman, Tina Beattie, famed for writing to the Polish bishops, dissenting from church teaching on abortion, same-sex marriage, gender, contraception. And she has been billed to speak at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Yeah.
It's Canonesses of the Holy Sepulchre.
Yeah.
Right. So
Canonesses.
So basically, these are the nuns who run a really successful private school in Chelmsford in Essex, right? Called Newhall School. You can see that it's advertised at Newhall. And this is one of the big scandals of this event, is that Newhall is a Catholic school, and Tina Beattie is absolutely. I mean, she's one of those. There's a genre of sort of Catholic grifters, people who've made money out of being Catholic. And one of the things that's always annoyed me is that these seem to be the people that the church picks. Like Tina Beattie is on Thought for the Day on Radio 4 really regularly as a Catholic theologian, but she had to drop when she was at Roehampton. She had to drop the Catholic theologian, and she then started styling herself as a theologian with Catholic credentials.
Yeah, like a theologian who is Catholic rather than Catholic theologian.
But she's still now on Twitter, like she's retired, and so she's gone back to saying that she is a Catholic theologian and a gender theorist. She is now. Well, you can imagine. Like, so this is a woman who basically has been at odds with the church on every single key point. So how she is Catholic, I really do not understand, because she certainly doesn't submit to the teaching of the church, and she thinks that she's cleverer than the magisterium or anything like that. So she's written a book about the sex lives of the apostles. You know, she's written so much horrible and problematic stuff. It's absolutely unbelievable. And much of it is you can find it on my blog. But like, as I say, they keep giving her jobs, and she's so our favourite bishop, John Arnold, the Bishop of Salford, who is who's that? Someone's just said,
Bishop
excited for your upcoming episode with Larry Chapp. So are we, Rome 77.
We are.
Is the thing working tonight? Is the thing working? No, it's not. Yeah, so she's written so much bad stuff, and she's so arrogant, she's got no problem writing to the Polish bishops, telling them that they're wrong, sort of condemning abortion and stuff like that. It's been going on for ages and ages. And John Arnold actually made a theological advisor for CAFOD, for the Catholic Agency for Overseas Development. So, but there was so much pushback against that, because, I mean, how do you qualify someone as Catholic? You'd have thought that you've got to believe the basic sort of tenets of it. So anyway, these canonesses, they're hilariously heretical, to the point where I think it was last year, they celebrated their 175th anniversary, basically because they're not going to make their 200th. You know, all these orders who've gone loopy in the 60s, they've got absolutely no vocations. And I think that's sort of interesting and ironic, given the Dominicans this week have been celebrating 2 new entrants into their order, haven't they? So, you know, you've got this beautiful order of Dominican nuns in the New Forest, and they're growing. You know, they've got people joining their order, and you've got these cranky old canonesses of the Holy Sepulchre who are renowned in the diocese for, you know, being heretical. And who do they get in? They get in Tina Beattie. And it's just absolutely scandalous, really, and scandalous if you're sending your children to Newhall and you're paying loads of money and you think they're getting a Catholic education. We've got more to say about that as well in other things, haven't we? We're not going to do it tonight, but Voice of the Family have created this excellent report on the Catholicity of the Bishop's programme on sex education, haven't they? You've had a quick look at it, haven't you, Katherine?
Yeah, we want to come back in. We're just doing a live, by the way, anyone who's just joined us. We just thought we'd jump on and do a quick live chat, give you the opportunity to ask any questions, make any comments you'd like us to share. Just a brief sort of half hour tonight, and then come back. We've got quite a bit of stuff to report on RSE, relationships and sex education in Catholic schools, and the report from Voice of the Family, and much more besides, but we'll get into that in more detail. And when we have Gavin with us, Gavin can't be with us tonight, but what we've been talking about, if you've just joined us, is that there is a woman who bills herself as originally as Catholic theologian, and she's changed it somewhat to a theologian who is also Catholic, to try and slightly wriggle out of the fact that people are criticizing her so much for saying that when you present yourself as a Catholic theologian and you go and speak, you give the impression that you're speaking on behalf of the church. And she wouldn't be the only one, would she, Mark? This woman has spoken on supporting same-sex marriage. She's due to speak at the place Mark just mentioned on gender. Yeah, she's spoken on contraception. She said that the CTS, the Catholic Truth Society, issued perverted publications which were in line with church teaching. But I think this is mystifying, isn't it? Because we have this with ordained women. We have this with Catholics for Choice. It is often women who are setting themselves up as Catholics with the explicit aim of dissenting from church teaching. It makes no sense. But what's worse, I suppose, is if this woman is promoted by some people in the church as a Catholic theologian speaking on behalf of the church, because she did have some sway with the bishops, didn't she, back in the day?
Yeah, massively. But there's a big swathe of people who are in that sort of similar position, and it really is. You know what I always think it's about the tablet. You know, we've got, I don't know if you know, in America they've got the National Catholic Register National Catholic Register, which is good, and the National Catholic Reporter, which Father Z calls the fish wrap, which is like always pushes the heretical position. And here we've got the Catholic Herald, which Katherine and I and Gavin all write for, but we've also got the tablet. And if you know, again, Father Z calls that, always says tabula delendula est. You know, it's like the progressive paper in the UK. And of course, BT and all these people write for the tablet. And what you find in the tablet is always a progressive perspective. They're always contradicting Catholic teaching. And if you watch Catholic Unscripted, you know that, you know, one of my particular emphases is as someone like, so there's an immaturity about the way that we begin to have faith. And often that immaturity is that we're interested in being Catholic, but we think we understand a better way of doing it. And so we tend to have, without bothering to try and understand the doctrine, we tend to try and impose ourselves on the top of that doctrine. So we might say, okay, well, this is backdated, this teaching is wrong, and you know, really it should be updated because of X, Y, and Z. And we think we've worked out fantastic reasons why that's the case. And what I constantly try and say on Catholic Unscripted as someone who's studied the faith formally for 5 years in a pontifical university is, when you really understand what the church teaches, it's so powerful and beautiful, and it's embarrassing. You end up being embarrassed that you took that sort of position, or that you had the arrogance that you thought you were better than what the church thought. And really what we need to do is sit humbly at the foot of the cross and listen to what Jesus is teaching us through Revelation. And that's what changes our lives. That's what really makes the difference, is if you're challenged by something the church teaches, and that's perfectly reasonable because it is challenging. Remember, Jesus said that he came to bring a sword. So it does challenge us. The word does challenge us. And so it's important that we recognize that we're challenged, and then we work our way through what the church is teaching and why it's teaching us. And then you'll find that you're in a position where you're so moved because you've wrestled with it, like Jacob at the Jabbok. You know, you've wrestled with that difficult teaching, and when you understand the principles behind it, it's such a move of your heart. It's so powerful. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and I think feminism has done a lot to damage women and to damage Catholic women in this regard. You're right there when you talk about once you start to learn, it's sort of a shrinking feeling comes over you, because pride has that thing where you're puffed up, aren't you? And I think that in my return to the faith, having been raised a cradle Catholic, fallen far away as many people do in their 20s for reasons I've been into many times, and then slowly coming back, it was a reduction in pride and a growth in humility, that where you recognize actually that you are not the last word, you are not the finished article, you are not God. We sort of try to make ourselves God, and I think feminism has really encouraged this in women, to say, to look at with worldly horizontal eyes and say, well, you're not going to tell me I can't be a priest, and look at equality in that earthly way as sameness, which our catechism says is not uniformity. Equality is not uniformity, but never mind what the catechism says. So it seems to me that what women who call for women priests and so on, is what they want is power. They're calling for authority in a church whose authority they do not recognize, and what they really want is power. These are probably the very same people who would talk about smashing power structures. So there's an incoherence in it, because it's sort of self-focused. We talked about that ego drama rather than theodrama. And of course, what we all need to do is what you've just said, is kneel before our blessed Lord, looking at the model of humility of our Blessed Mother, and receive what's given, including our own sexuality.
Beginning with the principle that this is something supernatural, that this is something revealed by God. You know, like the arrogance is just extraordinary. But you hit all the right, like you've said, all the things there exactly. And Tina obviously is a feminist, and all that, she's on board with all these modern tropes, and that's really it. I mean, it makes me so sad, because it's like she hasn't been changed. There's no metanoia. You know, she hasn't allowed herself to submit to Christ and to be changed by Christ from everything that she writes and says. And she, you know, it's so sad. And it's so sad that these are the people who represent the faith, and you get drawn into these polemics. And this is all that she's doing at Newhall School, you know, is entering into a polemic on the side of the secular progress. And that's what can that do except undermine the church, you know? And it's like a narrow and poor understanding of anything the church teaches. It's really disappointing.
Yeah, so we're not about attacking a person and saying, no, it shouldn't be what you say, it should be what we say. It's about what neither of us says, but what he says. It's about an upwards view. It's about looking upwards, looking at the vertical, and not this constant horizontal. I did a daily news with Gavin today, which was sent out to our members. Anyone who hasn't got a membership and would like daily news commentary from myself and Gavin Ashenden, pick one up on our website, catholicunscripted.com. And we were talking about what was going on with politics at the moment in the UK. Keir Starmer, who was very critical of Boris Johnson and Carrie for redecorating, I nearly said the papal apartments there, for redecorating number 10, and spending all that money. And then it turns out, oh dear, what a surprise, Keir Starmer's got free tickets and spent loads of money. And so in other words, they're both human, they're both flawed. But often what we want to do is we want to point at people, a virtue signal, and say, well, you're flawed because you don't do enough for the environment, and you're racist, and everyone's blaming each other. When of course what we know is that what we should recognize is that we're broken, aren't we? We're all capable of these things, and the way to heal that brokenness is through the church that's been given to us. I was saying with Gavin earlier, you know, thanks be to God, we can go to confession. We're not perfect. We can go to confession. This gift has been given us in the church, and we can examine our conscience. And that's what we need to be doing, is examining our conscience and making ourselves right with God. And rather than busily pointing the finger and examining everybody else's moral code. So we're in this weird world, aren't we, where we've got moral relativism, but we've never been so critical of people's morality, you know, finger wagging and so on. So I think what we want to do is not say, isn't that awful? If it's awful at all, it's because the focus is on her own theology, when anyone who speaks for the church and church teaching should be focused on what's been revealed. And, you know, I've seen this with clergy as well, Mark, I hate to say. I've been in rooms where I've heard priests say, what we need is we need a woman pope. I've heard a priest say that. I've heard a priest say that in the story of creation, God made a transgender creature, and that we can do away with the Jesus of the Old Testament because, we can do away with God of the Old Testament and just focus on Jesus of the New Testament. I mean, all these things, you think the church has dealt with all this. It's dealt with all this, and yet we have a Catholic priest standing and teaching this stuff. So it's a real problem. It is, because it's leading people astray. And like you said about the Pope's comments, do these people not deserve the truth? Do we love them so little that we're not prepared to speak the truth?
Yeah, it's really disappointing. I see, and like on the Pope's comments, I see we've even got Rob and Anthony on Avoiding Babylon are doing a live stream tonight about the fact that even the people who really have been defending the Pope, I mean, this guy, Michael Lofton in particular, I wouldn't say Trent Horn so much. Trent Horn just sort of doesn't really talk about the Pope, sort of avoids it. But Michael Lofton obviously is famous for defending the Pope no matter what. But even he's pulled away from the Pope's latest comments about the plurality, the pluralism that he's sort of mentioned, that all religions are a way to God, which is patent, absolutely patent nonsense, let alone in direct contradiction to what the church teaches. And it is difficult for us because, on Twitter this evening, I've found lots of people with poor understanding of what the papacy is, etc. And this idea that the Pope is appointed by God and can't do anything wrong, and it's just, unfortunately, it's just nonsense. But
hasn't he doubled
really
down
seeing
on that
it now
as well? Didn't Pope Francis double down on what he'd said in Singapore and repeated the comments?
Well, and what he said in Singapore was doubling down on what he said in Abu Dhabi. And as we demonstrated in the last couple of videos, and as we're going to talk about with Larry tomorrow, this is the thing about it, is that you're not taking this one comment in isolation. And he was talking to some kids, he's trying not to be offensive, it's a multicultural environment, blah blah blah. You can make all those excuses if it wasn't the fact that it was something that he'd, it's a theme, it's a leitmotif. One of his leitmotifs of the papacy is religious pluralism. And he doubled down on it when he came back. So then he made it in the Bulletino. So it's, at that point, it's, you've broken that. Oh, he's just talking off the cuff. And even if he did just talk off the cuff and made a mistake, then you would expect that he would, so if it was causing as much trouble as it obviously is across the internet, and, what makes me sad is the confusion for the faithful. You'd expect him to issue a statement and say, look, I got it wrong. Salvation is through Christ alone, and the sole expression of the truth is through the revelation of Jesus Christ, who's the Son of God. Blah blah blah. It's not complicated stuff. It's what the church has always taught, and you'd expect him to issue some sort of clarification. But absolute silence, as always. As there was with Abu Dhabi, in Abu Dhabi, the only reason that he sort of got away with it was because Bishop Schneider questioned him and said, "Oh, did you really mean that?" And he said, "Oh, well, I meant it was God's permissive will, not his direct. Like he didn't actually plan for there to be a plurality of religions. He allowed a plurality, which, this is the thing for me, and this is what I want to talk to Larry about. Really, we're all watching this. And we all know, like, it's obvious that there's an agenda there, and the agenda is to undermine the faith. The agenda is, look at Galatians 1:6. If anyone should preach to you another gospel, let him be anathema. And the Pope's been doing that for 10 years. Unfortunately, Pope Francis has been pushing this, whether sometimes quietly, but everyone can see, anyone who's studied, who understands the faith, can see that he's been pushed in there to push another agenda to undermine the faith, and he's set about doing it, and that's what he's doing.
And Lumen Gentium 17 speaks about the need to speak according to your station, kind of thing, doesn't it? This is the Pope.
This is not exactly
anyone speaking. We began, by the way, hello to anyone who's joined us. We're doing a live broadcast just for a little chat this evening. We've been talking about a woman called Tina Beattie who speaks around the UK and dissenting from church teaching, and yet she's given a platform. And so we've just been talking about how difficult it is when a number of people are given a platform, billed as Catholic theologians, and then call for things that are antithetical to the faith. And then, of course, that moved us on to talking about Pope Francis' latest comments in Singapore off the back of the Abu Dhabi declaration, and as Mark's just made clear then, if you've joined in, about how this is concerning. And why do we speak about it? Because we're concerned with Christ, with the church that he gave us, and want to make sure that, you know, we defend truth as far as possible, and because we recognize the need for it. So we've spoken about how it changes us and our lives, and not because we're perfect, but as Mark often says, it's one beggar offering another beggar a piece of bread, showing him where to find a piece of bread. But hello to all of you. We also wanted to do this to give you a chance to come in and chat to us, ask a question. We've been getting quite a number of comments on our videos, and we can't answer them all, so we thought this might be a way to do that. And we want to try and do 1 or 2 live videos each week. So we're just giving this a go for now, testing out something new. So if you're watching and you want to type a comment that you'd like us to read out, if you want to ask a question that you'd like us to have a go at tackling, then let's do that. We'll stay on for another 20 minutes or so. Hello to Stephen. Hey, Stephen. Stephen from City of Truth, Mark. Our friend.
Yeah,
Steve
I saw that. That's great. Do you know, I think I might even be able to pull that comment up, look, and show it on the live stream.
Lovely.
There you go. So that's Steve Rummelsberg of the City of Truth.
You might have heard, he's doing amazing work, isn't he, Mark? You've probably heard him. He's had a couple of conversations with Matt Fradd on Pints with Aquinas, and he's especially good at really, really brilliant Catholic education. Like, he really understands the purpose of education, and he's been really helpful to us, and we've met him. He's been over in London, and it's lovely to see you here, Stephen. If you don't know his channel, go and check it out, City of Truth. Over on YouTube.
If you've got kids or grandkids, you really need to be following his stuff. He's also a big fan of Michael Lofton. Massive fan of Michael Lofton.
He's not going to be happy with you, Mark. Are you still there, Steve? He's gone.
Yeah. So I was going to just pull up the ad limina from, let me just see if I can do that. So this is Benedict XVI's ad limina with the bishops of England and Wales. Let me just see if I can.
Yeah, good point, Brendan. It's true. This is something we've spoken about. We did a video a few months ago about analysing a discussion Frank Skinner had. I don't know, Brendan, if you're in the UK or elsewhere, but in the UK, we've got a very well-known comedian called Frank Skinner, and he's rare in that he stands up and says, I'm a Catholic, which is very difficult in the industry he's in. And we were working through an interview he did, and it was pretty good. Actually, he was going quite well. And then he just, at the end, did exactly as you've said. You know, he supports all these things. Brendan's saying lots of celebs claim to be Catholic and support abortion, gay marriage, and everything else. So you're quite right. You might want to check out that video we did about Frank Skinner. Sorry, Mark, you were pulling something up.
No, go on, crack on, because
no, that was it. I was just responding to comments.
So in this ad limina, is this the right one? Yeah.
Michael. Is it possible to be feminist and Catholic? I think that's something we might get into another time, but I would say no. I don't ever use the label feminist. I'm with Alice von Hildebrand, who said feminism is a great masculine victory. I think feminism has done a lot of damage. I think if once we start to put the pieces of the jigsaw together, we will see just how much damage feminism has done. No, I don't think it's possible to be a feminist as we understand feminism. I think there's a big conversation to be had there about restoring true femininity and masculinity. But in terms of the label feminist, I would never use it. I would never encourage my daughters to use it. I can see why some people do, and some people I respect. Good Catholic women say they're Catholic feminists, but I don't think it's helpful adopting that label for reasons, as I said, we might go into on another chat. Carry on,
So
Mark.
Well, this addresses all of that, really. It addresses the Tina Beattie thing, because it's the Pope saying to the bishops of England and Wales, so this is Pope Benedict XVI, and he says, make it your concern then to draw on the considerable gifts of the faithful in England and Wales and see they are equipped to hand on the faith to new generations comprehensively, accurately, and with a keen awareness that in so doing, they are playing their part in the church's mission. We have to remember that catechesis, that's the word we use for passing on the faith, actually means echo. Yeah, it's from the Greek. So, it's important to remember that we don't bring our own opinions to this, but we echo the apostle. I mean, what a powerful, wonderful duty and honor that is, to be able to echo Christ and the apostles. So he goes on, so this is my favorite bit, right? Have you heard this before, Katherine? So basically, I can't hear you now. You're muted. That's why. And I'm looking at the thing.
Oh, sorry, Karen. Sorry, I was replying to someone. Yeah.
Right. So he says. So he goes on here and says, in a social milieu that encourages the expression of a variety of opinions on every question that arises, it's important to recognise dissent for what it is, and not to mistake it for a mature contribution to a balanced and wide-ranging debate. It is the truth revealed through scripture and tradition and articulated by the church's magisterium that sets us free. Cardinal Newman realised this, and he left us an outstanding example of faithfulness to reveal truth by following that kindly light wherever it led him, even at considerable personal cost. Great writers and communicators of his stature and integrity are needed in the church today, and it's my hope that devotion to him will inspire many followers in his footsteps. So isn't that beautiful? It's I think he just puts everything so well. It's important to recognize dissent for what it is, and not a mature contribution to a balanced and wide-ranging debate. And I think that is the problem that we've got in the UK largely, is that to have a wacky opinion, people seem to think that is intelligence, and that's Tina Beattie in a nutshell.
Yeah. I was reading that earlier. I think maybe we sent that round on our chat, so we were having a look at that. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's exactly right. So I think one of the reasons I wouldn't use the term feminist is because because as an ideology, it's built on a totally different vision of the human person. But this is a big topic, so we may have to disagree on that one, Cadence, but hopefully you'll join us on another conversation when we explicitly talk about this issue. We're in Waterford, 11th to 13th of October. And can a person pray outside of an abortion centre in England, or is everyone arrested? Well, actually, a law just came in that means that the radius around the abortion clinic has been extended. You are not allowed to pray. No, you're not allowed to coerce. You're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to do anything that might take away from a woman's right for what Jess Phillips calls healthcare. This is a Labour MP. Jess Phillips says you mustn't interfere with a woman's right to access healthcare. So of course it's all in the language, isn't it? It's how we express that. And of course the motto for this year's March for Life in London was abortion is not healthcare. So will everyone get arrested? Well, it's early days yet. We certainly know that Isabel Vaughan-Spruce, Father Sean, got arrested. I've forgotten his name. There's a man now who's went to pray for his dead son who died from an abortion, and he has been arrested also. So yes, people are being arrested, frighteningly, for praying not just verbally but being within the zone and praying in their head. And a Catholic lawyer I spoke to a few months ago said the law is going to be so strict that they will be clamping down on silent prayer, and even he was asked whether, if you read the government's own statistics about abortion, what if you were near a clinic and you were just reading government statistics, nothing more, just in 2018, 700 women got an abortion, something like that. Yes, you would be arrested, even for talking about the government's own statistics. So in the UK, I'm afraid it's becoming more and more difficult. And this is also at the same time as talks to bring in a law that will allow for assisted suicide by Christmas. So anyone who watches our news daily or who tunes into our channel regularly will know that this is something we've spoken about before. So yes, England is not going in a very good direction. Mark, sorry, I'm picking up on comments as I see them.
No, good. It's all good. So the other thing we wanted to mention was the fact that we've been asked to speak at the Catholic Man UK thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. If you want to talk about the Catholic Man UK and what weekend that is, and then I'd like a little moment to talk about Catholic mothers. So there we go.
Okay, even though Katherine is the first woman ever to speak at the Catholic Man UK conference, which is on the 15th to the 17th of November at Buckden Towers, which is like a Tudor castle in Cambridgeshire. So it's really fascinating place. I was asked to speak last year, so obviously I must have done a fairly good job because they've asked me to come back again this year and bring Gavin and Katherine, and the three of us are all going to talk, and we're going to talk about, well, the basic theme of the weekend is 1 Corinthians 3:11. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put aside childish things. So it's that transition from childhood to manhood. And it really is a wonderful weekend for boys. We get of all ages. We get together. There's good Catholic input, solid Catholic input. There's liturgy. There's a chapel and everything. There's sacraments. There's chat. There's fire. We have a big bonfire. Good food. Good camaraderie. So it would be absolutely brilliant if we totally booked it out to the gunnels. So please do. If you just look up Catholic Man UK and then go to events on their website, you'll be able to see the booking form and everything there. So let's go, boys.
Yeah, book that up, men and boys. And we'll see you there. I promise not to get in the way too much. Jess Phillips is not as bad as Stella Creasy. Isn't that true? Thank you, Mr. All I've got for that is Mr. So
They're
Mr. Maybe you'll go to Catholic Man UK, Mr. Stella Creasy is a British politician, and she was very much involved in the changes to the abortion law in Northern Ireland. And what she did in that, part of the thing she did there was to say, well, look, Northern Ireland, you're behind England. So Northern Ireland wanted to not be behind England in terms of the law, so they adjusted it so that they wouldn't be. But actually, what she managed was to get them to go a little further. So now you can go back to England and say, oh, England, you're lagging behind Northern Ireland, until little by little, incrementally, you start to remove limits on abortion. Stella Creasy's proposed a bill. I think maybe 6 months ago, saying that their women should. So this pills in the post. So during COVID, you were allowed to receive pills in the post, and you were meant to not be any further than 10 weeks gestation, but there was no way of checking this. So women were saying that they were, but then receiving the pills, taking them, inducing an abortion. And actually, it was sometimes very late on, as late as 36, 35 weeks. And then those women needed medical treatment. So this is now being used by Stella Creasy and others to say we should have abortion on demand, no limits, up to birth, because if we don't, it's going to be like a backstreet abortion situation again, which is one of the reasons to bring it in 1967 in the first place. But of course, it's only like that because they allowed for pills in the post in the first place during COVID. So it's all this nudge. Let's get rid of all the limits. And it's always on the grounds of it's fairer. We've got to look after the health of women. Stella Creasy, definitely, I would agree with you, Mister, is a great danger. And we need to watch carefully what she's up to in terms of abortion law. Thank you again, Mister, for your comments. And I'm sorry to hear, Clayton, in Ontario, you haven't been able to do sidewalk counselling for many years. It's happening everywhere. And Brendan, I love that comment. Thank you. As we become less and less Christian, we become less and less free. Absolutely right. I was just having a conversation with my son this evening about freedom and boundaries, and he's preparing for his RE exam. So we discussed just that, the idea of being enslaved by doing whatever you want and by our passions. And actually, as we conform more closely to Christ, then we can flourish to be who we've been created to be. So actually it enslaves us, this freedom understood as doing whatever you want. So thank you. The state, the state, that's a question, I think. So just I'm going to look back at, maybe Mark, you can have a look at the comments and pick up on any while I just say, Mark's just done a little pitch for all our men watching, all our Catholic men, for our Catholic mothers among us. This is brilliant. This is created by a friend of mine, a friend of ours, Chiara Finaldi, who runs Catholic Mothers UK. And this is the planner for 2025. She does one every year. It's really beautiful. It's got just like any other diary, but more than that, there's the feast days are in every feast day. There's lovely things. There's prayers at the back of the planner. And there's just lovely little touches like novenas that you want to pray and who you want to pray them for, and all sorts, recipes, saints. It's just beauty and everything beautifully designed. So I just wanted, because I just got one in preparation for the upcoming new year. And if you want to, go and visit the Catholic Mothers UK website and pick one of these. I don't know how much they are. 24 quid, I think. 24 quid. There you go. Very nice. Catholic Mothers. Mark, what have you got in the comments?
Oh, I don't know. No, I don't think there's not been anything new.
You've been eating biscuit. To avoid the what is a woman. I'm not sure what's that in response to. Epo Rose one, to avoid the what is a woman conversation stopper. I think, right, fine. I think people are having a conversation between themselves. Okay, last couple of little comments or questions. If you want to, maybe we'll shut off around 1:15, so maybe another 5 minutes. Anyone have any burning comments or questions they'd like to put in the chat? Speak now. And maybe you might want to comment on how you enjoyed this, whether you'd like a weekly session like this. We'll just come in and run it live and see what things you guys would like to talk about. It's lovely to see everyone in the chat, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it's great to see so many people getting involved. So it's just a different thing, isn't it, having the live thing, and it's a bit more interactive. So we haven't really done it. We did a few bits at the March for Life. Well, you did a few bits and you kind of got a bit more confident with it. So maybe we'll do, this is a bit more interactive with our audience. And I've been trying to convince everyone for a little while that I've been trying to convince Gavin and Katherine for a little while that we should do one of these a week at least, so that you can see us and we can chat with you. And
I don't need convincing. One of the key problems we do have, which hopefully as we grow we can overcome, is the time. We're all in, aren't we, Mark? We very much want to be able to record and to improve on our output content, the amount we do and the quality that we do. But we do hope to grow. So please visit our website, catholicunscripted.com. Look at the different ways you can support us and look at what you get in return. So if anyone hasn't picked up a membership,
we're getting Gavin some questions here about Medjugorje. I don't know.
yeah, well, we can go on to Medjugorje for a few minutes. We tend to do daily news, so we'll send that to your inbox if you'll remember. Is now, with 3 minutes left, the time to go, let's talk about Medjugorje.
Yeah, so there's been a press conference. Cardinal Fernandez has given this wacky press conference, sort of saying Medjugorje is okay, but the church doesn't really endorse any of the messages. I mean, it's been a long while. I don't really know what to make of Medjugorje. It doesn't. I've not got a lot of confidence in the fact that the seers are genuinely seeing our Blessed Mother, mainly because of the banality of the messages that come through on a sort of daily basis, which is like, oh, hello, my children, it doesn't really say anything.
Your Medjugorje impressions.
It kind of drives me a bit mad. But anyway, Fernandez went on this weird thing where he started attacking the Carmelite saints and stuff like that. And I mean, they do more. Is anyone actually paying any attention to Fernandez anymore after? Yeah, exactly. So I would say don't let it trouble you, and just, if you want to believe in it, believe in it. I think there's a lot of good fruit perhaps comes out of it, but that is because our Blessed Mother can turn, and Jesus and God will turn everything even right straight with crooked lines. So let's not worry too much about it. If it's not for me particularly, but there you go. Is that any good?
That's very good. As always, Mark, I'll just
sitting on the fence. Grace is saying their Catholic Identity Conference. Yes, we're going to the Catholic Identity Conference.
Yeah, we are.
It's not this weekend, it's next weekend. And both me and Katherine are terrified. Gavin's not terrified because nothing terrifies him.
I didn't know you were terrified. I'm not terrified.
Well, I think I'm only terrified because you ring me up every day and go, oh, I really want it to be good.
I've been a teacher for 25 years. I'm fine. I ring you and say, are you getting ready? And you said, ready? What? So,
what for?
Yeah. What are we doing? What are we doing? Yeah. So I just we'll be there. So whoever asked, yes, we'll be there. We look forward to meeting you if you're there, and it'll be great to catch up with people who are joining us online but don't live anywhere near us. So finally get to meet. I'm just looking at a post here from Life. I live in Surrey, and my daughter's school proceeded to present LGBT relationships to 6-year-olds. Well, you may have joined in just a little after we started recording, but we began by saying that we are going to meet soon with Gavin, hopefully the three of us, and look at this issue. We've been in contact with Voice of the Family, who have produced some analysis of the relationships and sex education programme that is being used in a lot of Catholic schools. And they are very keen that people see this analysis and that parents are aware of what's going on and what their rights are. So we will do a whole separate programme on that. But the only thing I can say is I'm very sorry to hear it. I'm afraid it is a problem everywhere, and we have to remind schools that parents are primary educators, and unfortunately education has changed on this, where it used to be in the UK you used to be able to withdraw your children from RSE or SRE, however it was billed, sex education, and now the right to withdraw has been taken away. So they're definitely doing all they can. We know that they are after our children. We know that it always starts with the children. They just meaning, of course, all those who are doing the enemy's bidding. So it always starts with the children. So we have to protect them. But I'm very sorry to hear it. And do tune into a programme we hope to do over the next week or so about this very issue. So sorry about that, Life.
And it seems a good time to mention that we have had, in the last couple of months, a brilliant teaching document from Bishop Patrick McKinney of Nottingham Diocese on sexuality and all this sort of thing. It is the document. And if you want to see more of it from the bishops, you have to contact Bishop McKinney and say, thank you very much. So go onto the website. There's the website there. I've just brought it up. You can easily find it if you type in Catholic Diocese of Nottingham, England, or whatever, and write to Bishop McKinney, read the document and write to Bishop McKinney and say, thank you very much for standing up for the faith, because they need to know that we value what, when they stand up for the faith. Thank God. And we really need our bishops to stand up for the faith, but they don't know to do it. Like if they do something Catholic, they tend to get more complaints than they do praise. So, we really do need, when they do something good like this, we really need to get on and make sure that they know how much we value it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do get on to Bishop Pat McKinney. He's in Nottingham, isn't he, Mark? He's in Nottingham.
Yeah.
And say thank you, but also get on, if you're not in Nottingham, get onto your own bishop and say, we were really impressed with Bishop Pat McKinney, because I know that the document Bishop Pat McKinney has issued, Precious in My Sight, was drafted for the Catholic Bishops' Conference, and it was considered at the highest level that it needed to be changed, and for the worse, let's say. And so Bishop Pat McKinney is a very brave man, because he went out on his own with this, and it's watertight. So he needs to know that people appreciate this strong stance that he has taken, and encourage other bishops to do the same, because the reason they don't is fear, obviously. Fear in the UK, we have Catholic schools that have a partnership with the state, and fear that they will lose that partnership. So they're constantly trying to appease the government and to stay in bed with the government. But of course, we know Catholic education isn't worth keeping if it can't be Catholic. So definitely, I would say, parents watching, UK parents, thank Bishop McKinney and contact your own bishop.
And ask them to adopt McKinney's letter.
Say I would like this adopted in our diocese. When are they going to be debating euthanasia in Parliament, Brendan? This is now being pushed forward. I don't know if you're in the UK or not, Brendan, but we have a new Labour government, not in power more than 5 or 6 weeks, and they have acted really quickly to push a lot of the progressive moves that many of us feared, and which we were told, no, these are not our priorities. As soon as they got in, they put in people in place in Equalities Minister, Women's Minister, Education Department, pushing a lot of these ideologies, restricting our freedom of conscience. And by Christmas, Keir Starmer wants, because we know he personally supports what he would call assisted dying, assisted suicide, and he wants to push through a bill so that there's a vote on this by Christmas, which is just a few months away, and that this vote would be a free vote, which means parties wouldn't be MPs wouldn't be whipped to vote in line with their party. It would be a free conscience vote. And he knows that at the moment, the appetite in the UK actually does seem to be on the side of those wanting assisted suicide. And so it looks likely that this will come in. This would be the most seismic change in law since the 1967 Abortion Act. So these are frightening times. A lot of prayer needed, folks.
Yeah, I see this contact from our friend Mr. B. What about a special edition with George Conger and Kevin from Anglican Unscripted? Well, we're certainly up for it. I don't know if you saw, we were on their show. We have invited them back, but I think that we kicked their butts so comprehensively, didn't we? When we went on there, they were terrified of us. So
we went on just after Pope Benedict XVI died and spoke about all of us, our great love for Benedict XVI's writing, all his works, and it was very good. It was very friendly, but I think there were just a few points where we were irritatingly Catholic. So we haven't been invited back.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk again. Yeah, we are in touch. So sorry to hear about your corporate away day, Mister. I feel for you. Mister's had a corporate away day with plenty of DEI indoctrination.
God love him.
Yeah.
Right. Should we wrap that up then? That's 55 minutes, and we were only going to do 30 minutes.
Half an hour. There we go. Well, thanks for all your comments. Thanks for your questions. It's lovely to trial this out and see how it goes. And what we'll try and do now that we see that there's some interest and people like to engage, is we'll try and stick to a weekly slot so that you know when to expect it and can jump in, and we'll have a vague idea of things we want to talk about, but we'll leave it open for you to pose some questions and get some discussion going. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to all of you who commented and engaged with one another. As Mark said earlier, very true, isn't it? That idea of I did not come to bring peace but a sword. And I think all Catholics who are trying to stay close to Christ and Holy Mother Church will absolutely recognise that in their lives. I know Mark and I do, that it's very, very hard. It's hard to take that stand, but that's why community and fellowship matter so much. So let's support one another and continue to pray for one another.
Oh, we've got a load more comments now. This is from James.
You don't need to go to bed, do you?
I do, yeah. It's getting late. This one, what about talking to Father John Homer? Does he mean Father John Hemer? I wonder. The
James,
Mill Hill Father, who's the brilliant theologian. Brilliant. Yeah, Hemer. Look, he's just put on there, Hemer. Yeah. I mean, but do you know what, James? Father John, who's brilliant, he's quite hard to get hold of. He's quite a busy man. He teaches at Allen Hall and stuff. So, but yeah, it'd be good to get. I mean, you could just talk to him for hours about Scripture. He's just absolutely amazing. So yeah, that would be good.
Joseph, I totally agree. The problem is people are putting things, and I think, I want to get into that. You're totally right. It's about the pressure on the living. Once we have a culture that says we take away that inherent, that absolute right to life and to defend life from conception to natural death, just like with abortion, safe, legal and rare goes out the window. And now we have a celebration of abortion. It's demonic, it's sick. And we know from the moves around the world in Canada and Netherlands and elsewhere that people are being encouraged. They'll feel like burdens, and absolutely, you say there'll be pressure on the living. Anyone seen a documentary here in the UK called Better Off Dead by, I've forgotten her name now, a disabled actress. Anyway, you could look it up, Better Off Dead, and that was quite interesting and frightening, because she spoke with a doctor who kills people in Canada. And you just have to watch it, because she spoke with glee about how it's the best thing she's ever done since working in an abortion clinic. So frightening times. Yes, Canada's MAID program is terrible. But we'll leave it there for now and let Mark Lambert go to bed, and I'll get to bed myself, and then we'll be back Friday. Well, we'll record on Friday, but it won't be live. So we'll be back soon with a broadcast with Dr. Larry Chapp.
And we got, did you email Bishop John Keenan as well? We were going to get him on.
Yeah, but no reply. So we're hoping to speak with Bishop John Keenan. We spoke with him at at March for Life. But sadly, the technology let us down and the audio wasn't there. So we couldn't hear him. So hopefully he'll come back and talk with us here on the podcast. He's very good.
Lovely.
Good.
Right.
Thanks for watching.
God bless everyone.
You know who I am.
Thanks very much for tuning in.
And we'll be back.